EA Sports. It's in the game.
It's time for the final act of Formula 1 in 2021. Welcome to Practice 1 for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix here today. And as we enter the final weekend of the season, it is a bit more of a relaxed atmosphere than usual, with all the titles really decided a few races ago. Everyone can really just go through the motions and prepare for the big era change of 2022. But there is one thing that Mercedes want to concentrate on here, and that is the second practice run of the season for young star Aiden Jackson, who is coming out right now. And we heard from the pit crew before the start of his session that Aiden Jackson will be running exactly the same kind of routine that he ran in the British Grand Prix practice session he partook in, which was one run on the hard tyres and then going out on the mediums towards the end of the session to improve the time if need be. Considering the harder compound is the slower of the slowest of the three compounds, should we say, I think that'll be an almost inevitability. He's partnered up with Valtteri Bottas today, with Sir Lewis Hamilton taking a bit more of a back seat to watch the progress of what could be his replacement at Mercedes at some point in the future. And we are still unconfirmed as for the drivers of 2022, but there are going to be internal discussions had over the winter break, especially within the Mercedes family, as to what happens with Aiden Jackson. I think that's pretty much going to confirm that maybe the rumours about him being approached by Aston Martin were true all along, and if Mercedes are going to be involved in that discussion, then I think it's almost a given that Aiden Jackson goes to a team more in the midfield where he can battle for points and wins alike. Now, of course, the 2022 regulations are going to massively shake up the field, so it could prove to be a bad idea if, say, Williams come alive in 2022, but under the first year of the new regs and the new cars, that might not be the case. So it is a bit of a dice throw. But knowing Aiden Jackson, the talent he has been able to display in a car with no developments on it, I don't think he's going to have that much of a problem at all. So in the conditions that won't be really viable for the race, we are in the morning here, or in the late afternoon anyway. Of course, it is the only day to night transition race of the season. So this kind of practice session is more just for a taster, really more than anything compared to lap times in the Grand Prix weekend. Because of course the Grand Prix weekend will be taking place, the official sessions as it were, late at night. So, and there's been no changes to the track. That will be coming possibly next year. They were thinking of changing that chicane and removing it and making the hairpin there turn 5, but they've actually decided to stay with it for one more year, and that makes sense considering we're running pretty much the identical cars of last year, and we'll look to improve that corner and take that chicane out. And I think that would make more sense to be kind of revealed for next year, considering the rumours about the cars being able to follow more closely and provide more overtaking. I think that would be a very good move to do. So Jackson on the hard tyres in the Mercedes, probably just going to be for a taster here. He's performed admirably here in F2. He'd already taken 5th place in the standings by then. Of course, Mick Schumacher went on to win the title. Of course, we weren't here last year, or were we here last year? I think we were. We of course had, yes we were, and Jackson's done probably round here. He's not been at it though at this track in the past. It's one of the ones he has struggled with, and again, due to the very technical corners, when he jumps back in the HAAS, it's going to be a bit of a culture shock for him. He said in Silverstone that it actually wasn't really the case, as he set a 1 minute 41.7. That's not really showing the pace of the Mercedes, and he's probably not pushing that hard either, and he's on the hard tyres, so it's going to be, that's probably going to put him towards the back, I would have thought, but of course he's on the hard tyres, so that could be a reason for that. There's a car out in front of him, looks like one of the Alpines is there, he's run wide in that corner there. He's of course he's taken the corners rather well compared to the HAAS, because he's been struggling with the corners with the HAAS in some various tracks, so this will be a good time to show his cornering skills in a car that's more planted to the road. But the 141, and that's probably going to put him towards the back. I think his, well, performance wise, I think he'll be comparing himself more to Nikita Mazepin, who's back in the car at HAAS for this session, before Jackson takes over back duties in practice 2. And get a good idea of where Jackson will be at this Mercedes in the future, of course. And we know that he was pretty even with Lewis Hamilton in Silverstone. He was 5/10 slower than Lewis on the medium tyres, while Lewis was on the softs. I think Mercedes have said here that told him try not to really worry about being slower on the mediums, because the majority of drivers are going to be running the soft tyres, has been the case for the last 2 practice sessions now. And of course this will be the last race on these tyres. Of course the tyre size will be increased through into next year, so I think Mercedes, the message to Jackson is really just enjoy yourself and don't really worry about time so much, because it's really going to be not that big of a deal, because the whole of the championship, aside from the battle between HAAS and Alfa Romeo, has been pretty much settled, with Alfa Romeo being 13 points behind HAAS in the constructors standings, but coming off a very difficult couple of races in Mexico City and Brazil and Saudi Arabia, and it looks very unlikely that Alfa Romeo will even catch them at this point. So much has been their fall off towards the end of the season, and that would be a very good positive step for HAAS in terms of money in going into next year. Here a Mercedes engine being booted up. That's going to be Aiden Jackson most likely, coming out for his run on the medium tyres. He's currently sitting in 19th place, ahead of Nikita Mazepin, probably to be expected to some degree, as Mazepin has had a very lack of experience in that car throughout the season. It's not like back in the 90s where you used to have any test session almost that you wanted and run rigorously around the car and the kind of ways that the car works every single week off weekend that you had. You don't get that luxury anymore. So Mazepin has really been restricted in his running this season, as one of the Ferraris comes out ahead of Jackson there. So Jackson heads into his second lap, and he's going to improve on 19th place. I think it's Charles Leclerc at tops of the session right now. Keep an eye on the positional on the left. It tells you what the tyres are running. So I think we're probably expecting Jackson to be at least ahead of Latifi, and he'll obviously get ahead of Stroll and then beat Ocon. That's a very good time from Ocon, to be fair, on the hard tyres there, up into 16th position. And of course Jackson's already ahead of Mazepin, but I think he ran a bit wide in the exit for chicane there, so that might lose him a few seconds. He's currently 7 tenths up on his previous best, so he's already in line to improve his time. But as you can see, he's kind of struggling to keep up with the Ferrari in a straight line there. The Ferrari has been very good throughout the session, and Charles Leclerc will attest to that, as he is top of the timesheets for the moment, and he really has good, decent straight line speed, and that's been the case with the Ferrari speed-spec engine all season long since it was introduced. It's a okay corner there by Jackson. There's another car in the way. Looks like a Red Bull is coming up here, and that's going to really ruin Jackson's lap here. He's going to have 2 cars to think about. He's probably be better off just backing off and letting them get away. The Red Bull is going really slowly. It's actually getting in Leclerc's way, and there goes Jackson as well. So Jackson's cleared it. I think it was Verstappen that they came up on there. I think that might have ruined Jackson's lap a little bit. He's apparently 3 seconds quicker than himself though, so he should be around maybe top 10, I would have thought.
That lap was good enough for 14.
Only P14. That's surprising. And Jackson's going to go on another fly. He's another 3 seconds up faster than himself. That's a good time by George Russell in P12.
That lap puts us P12.
And he's been displaced by Jackson, who only goes P12. Well, it's not been the quickest run by Jackson in this session, only P12 ahead of Russell and Sainz, but to be fair, everyone above Sainz is on the soft tyres. So Jackson is at least second fastest among the medium tyres, and I think they'll take that. Mercedes will definitely take that as good kind of medium tyre data for the weekend. And I think that concludes, with Jackson going to the pits, I think that concludes Jackson's second run at Mercedes. Definitely not the eye-catching performance that we saw in Silverstone, but second fastest car on the medium tyres is certainly impressive when you think about it overall. So having a look at the full classification, Charles Leclerc did end the day P1 ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, and as you can see, the only times that Jackson didn't beat was Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez in the Red Bulls. But aside from that, Jackson did a pretty good effort to be second fastest amongst the medium tyres towards the back. Of course, he got ahead of the likes of Ocon, George Russell, his teammate Mick Schumacher for the rest of the weekend. And he was 15th. That's a great effort for Schumacher to get ahead of Raikkonen there in the Alfa Romeos. That does not spell well for Alfa Romeo, with Giovinazzi down in 18th place as well. It's certainly going to make things interesting for the race this weekend. Nikita Mazepin, probably to be expected in a way, due to lack of running, rounds up the field full today.